Hi guys, it's Miss Russell and I'm ready to color our train drawing in. If you remember last week, we created 1 point perspective. 1 point perspective, that's where we have a vanishing point. Sorry, my hands are pretty colorful right now. I was doing tie-dye at the studio today. If you don't know what tie-dye is, that's tie-dye. It makes my hands pretty colorful. Anyways, we were working on 1 point perspective. So we had train tracks that were going back to our one vanishing point, and that vanishing point's on a horizon line. And then you were to either create a fence or electric poles that were also going back in space along with your train. Now I've started coloring mine in. I'm not finished. You'll notice that I'm trying to do some shading in my train. So my sunlight is coming from this direction, which means the areas over here of my train would be darker. So I've added some black into this side to kind of darken it up and down here. You'll also notice if you look at the train tracks that the wood tracks that are closer to us, their color is lighter than the ones back here, because as things go back in space, their color gets duller, and you can't really tell all the time what color it actually is. It starts to kind of get gray or black. The colors that come closer to us, they get really nice and vibrant. Things that are close to us are big, and things that are far away are small. But let's talk about coloring in. Now, I have been using colored pencil to do mine. If you do not have colored pencil, you could always use crayon. I prefer not to use marker on this particular project since we are trying to do a little bit of shading and blending. You could use oil pastels. They are really fun. So if you have oil pastels, crayons, or colored pencils, feel free to use any of them. I'm using colored pencil. Now, notice that the train tracks that are close to us, I actually didn't push as hard on my colored pencil, which allowed a little bit more of the white of the paper to show. But I also added some yellow. If you look down there, and even my light poles, see that yellow? And that kind of lightens up my brown. Now, if you look at these light poles, you can see that I've added some yellow at times to kind of make it have a little bit more dimension to it. In between my train tracks, I'm trying to show that it is rock or gravel. I don't know what you'll choose to make yours. Most of the time, though, it is a rock or a gravel, and I'm just using gray and black to do that. So come up with something to go in between your train tracks so that we can see the difference. Prefer it not to be the same as the ground around it. If you chose to make ground around it, I don't know, maybe you made water. Who knows? So to do my rocks, what I have been doing is to start with my gray and actually draw a little rocky circle and color that in really solid. And I've just been putting them randomly, different sizes into this area so it starts to look a little like pebbles like you see over here. But then I took the black and would almost outline some of them, but not completely, just different sides, different areas, so that it starts to look a little bit more like a rock. And you'd want to add a bunch more in there. And then took my gray over it to actually fill it in. So all these in between, that's what I'm gonna do. My ground, you guys, I hope you added maybe some more things to your picture than I actually have, and fill those in. Think about where the light's coming from, what side's gonna be dark and what side's gonna be light. And your sky, fill your sky in somehow. Take your time, blend some colors together. So For example, on this picture over here, I've gotten a lot further than I have on my train picture, but looking at how I've blended the sky together and kind of had some fun with that. You don't have to make everything normal colors. If you want your sky to be green, make it green, but have some fun with it and blend your colors out and make them really solid. Colored pencils really have to be sharpened often. They make my hand hurt a lot because you really have to work hard at coloring with them. But you can see the grass that I'm adding here, I've actually added some brown into it to kind of darken that grass. As it comes down the paper, I'm going to start adding some yellow, just like I did to my poles, to make them make it a little more bright and vibrant as it comes down the paper. So take your time, color your picture in really neatly, really solid. Please send it to me either on our Google Classroom or Artsonia, and I look forward to creating with you next week.